It is a glorious afternoon. What's good, everybody? Welcome into the Early Edge and our Week 10. It's hard to believe NFL props extravaganza. We are powered, as always, by the almighty SportsLine, the best value in all sports betting. And it's not close. All of the odds on the Early Edge provided by our incredible partners, the king of all sports books, BetMGM. Now, how did my crew do a week ago? Well, all three were profitable. I was the only weak link. Thank you, AJ Brown, for nothing. PropStarz 3, EC 3, but Uncle Dave coming through strong, 4-1 as the anchor of our prop show. So without further ado, we've got so much to get to today, bringing the stars of the show. You know them, you love them, and somebody in the chat said, I'm going to spend my last $10 on whatever Uncle Dave's favorite bet of the week is. Is that pressure, Dave? Is that pressure? Before you answer, you get our 15 seconds to say whatever you want. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, Coach. You know, I don't ask for much. You know, air to breathe, shoes to walk in, stuffed pizza from Chicago once a month. But I'd like a favor from our audience today. Would you mind sharing our show with your friends, letting them know that we exist? We're all in this to help each other. Help your friends too. Thank you.
I like that. And what Dave is talking about is as we continue to grow, there's some really special things happening at the beginning of 2024. As soon as I can share with you at home, I absolutely will, and you guys know that. But Matthew in the chat says, Coach, you're the host with the most, and this show rocks. Let's go. Matthew, that's right. Let's go. Now, if you're new to our prop show, we don't go through every single game. No, we go by positions in the props. So my man this week has been really cashing some special teams props, finding a different way to attack field goals. So EC, very quiet over there, just sitting there minding your own business. And I look at the first play of the week, and it's you, and it's a field goal. Gimmick infringement. Dave, I apologize. But EC, start us off.
I love special teams props, Coach, so I can't resist. Let's go with Chase McLaughlin of the Buccaneers over 1.5 field goals at even money. Now, I looked at Dave's fantasy football rankings, as I do every week, and he has him number 7, which for a Buccaneers kicker seems somewhat surprising, right? Well, Tennessee has given up 23 made field goals in 9 games. I love to play the anti-Titans angle when it comes to field goals. They've allowed multiple field goals in 7 of 8 weeks. And, oh, by the way, McLaughlin's 15 for 15 and has multiple field goals in 6 of 8 games. There's not much more I need to say about that. We ride history. We ride what should be somewhat of a shootout there. And I'm going with McLaughlin over 1.5 field goals for Tampa Bay at even money.
We have been playing throughout the week. If you guys are wondering on our other live shows, there are, depending on the book you use, you can bet yardage with field goals. We've nailed that, haven't we? EC, a lot of different
1-1. 1-1 on that, Coach.
1-1. Okay, 1-1. I'll take it. Now, who in the chat? Oh, we've got to say hi to our newest member, Jeff, new SportsLine subscriber. These guys are legit. Jeff, you're damn right. Welcome to the family, kid. Welcome to the family. Now, he's sitting over there all quiet and everything. And I got a little text last night from my man, Proppy. And he says, Coach, did you happen to notice my NBA play today now that we can put units up there on the side? I know this is a football show, but I've got to tout this. And you had a 2-unit play yesterday, did you not, Proppy?
I did, Coach.
And what was the number on Giannis to score last night?
26. Well, I put it out, if you're a SportsLine subscriber, at 26.5 points. It actually closed at 31.5 points. And Giannis scored 26 points in the first half, finished with a game-high, season-high 54 points, Coach.
Oh, to go along with your cashing from primetime early edge. I would dare say you're in mid-season proppy form. If I'm right, then these next two should be absolute bangers. You're up, proppy. Let's go.
I got a pair of running backs props for you, Coach, starting with Austin Eckler. I'm going to fade the guy as much as I hate to do this. Under 48.5 rushing yards. Listen, when we talk about Austin Eckler, he's one of the more versatile running backs in the NFL. This guy is an exceptional receiver. Struggles a bit running between the tackles, though. We've seen besides that game 1 against the Miami Dolphins where he eclipsed 100 yards. He's yet to eclipse 50 yards in 4 consecutive weeks. Now he faces a Lions defense that's very stout against the run. As a result, they're a pass funnel, and they've only allowed 2 running backs this season to top 60 yards. We know the Chargers are without Mike Williams. They're without Josh Palmer. In my opinion, they're going to have to utilize Eckler more as a receiver than a running back, in addition to the tough matchup. That's why I like fading him under 48.5 rushing yards, Coach. Next up, we've got Breece Hall, over 63.5 rushing yards. Love this spot for Breece Hall against a Raiders defense that ranks bottom 10 in nearly every rushing metric. They're also susceptible to big plays. Breece Hall is top 5 in breakaway yards, top 10 in elusive rating. This is a tremendous matchup, in my opinion, where there's going to be some neutral or positive game script. When the Jets aren't playing from behind, they are going to feed this guy the rock. We saw what Jahmyr Gibbs did against the Raiders just a couple of weeks ago on prime time. Breece profiles similarly to Jahmyr Gibbs, in my opinion. I think he could have a monster ceiling/spike game. That's why I love him to go over 63.5 rushing yards.
This is a great hashtag educate and entertain spot, because last week we faded Breece Hall. Did we not, Proppy? Correct?
We did indeed, Coach. Yep.
And what happened against the Chargers? Can I ask?
We kept under and we cashed the ticket. So let's make it 2 weeks in a row on Breece in the opposite direction, though.
It's all about matchups, ladies and gentlemen. That's what my guys tell you all the time. It's all about matchups. You got to change, evolve, pivot week to week. So, Uncle Dave, I'm coming to you, big boy, because I'm looking at 2 rushing props here. And just like prop, I love it. I love it. You're fading one, and we're going over on one. You're up.
Let's start with the bad news first, Coach. Devin Singletary under 50.5 rushing yards, minus 114. The dude stinks. That's the analysis. I mean, I can give you the real analysis. You can read it on SportsLine if you want.
We're good now. Yeah, we're good.
I think we're good here.
I like it. I like it.
I think that's the best analysis yet. I think that's it.
Right.
All year. It would be a 4-minute show if we did that. Let's try that, All right. Sorry, Dave. Your next one is?
We're going with this. Okay. Next one is Ramondre Stevenson, over 46.5 rushing yards. And I was willing to take this one when the number was at 48.5, so I'll play it at least up to 48.5. He was over this last week thanks to a long touchdown run against Washington, but he was under it in the 5 prior games. So why so confident now? It's the matchup, sillies. Taking on the Colts, they've let a running back get at least 50 yards in 7 of 9 games this season. And since they lost Grover Stewart, yes, that's a real person and not somebody on Sesame Street. Since they lost him from the defensive line, 3 straight games, running back easily over 50 yards on the ground. And where's the game this week? Oh, yeah, it's in Europe. And we've seen this trend where teams go to Europe and they can't throw the ball. Coach, you know this better than anybody. Patrick Mahomes went there. He didn't even have 200 yards passing. We cashed a ticket on that prop last week, taking the under on Patrick Mahomes completions, by the way. So I think the Patriots will run the ball. That favors Ramondre Stevenson, obviously, because he's their lead back. And I think he'll get a lot of carries as well. He's been 10 or fewer, I think, each of his last 5 games. Look for him to get a lot of carries. Look for him to easily crush this number, over 46.5 rushing yards against the Colts.
The hashtag next level capping right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's exactly what we are talking about. Those European games, you got to listen to my guys. Now, EC, I'm coming over to you because I almost feel like anytime somebody plays this guy that's not named Proppy, like you're still in his pick. But I can't wait to see what Proppy says about this one. You're up.
Well, I want to also start with Dave here, Coach, because before the show we were talking and I said, what do you think about Atlanta's offense and Taylor Heineke? He goes, their play calling stinks. Is that right, Dave? You said something like that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Well,
confirmed.
Hey, EC, you do realize that what we talk about before the show doesn't necessarily need to be brought forward to the show.
Well, here's why, Coach. I hate to go against Dave here, but Bijan Robinson, over 56.5 rushing yards. He's playing in his home state, by the way, from Tucson, right down the street from where U of A is. Decided not to stay there, went to Texas. So that's besides the point. Yes, I'm bitter. But listen, the Cardinals rushing yards, they get torched by running backs. Since week 3 against number 1 running backs, 122, 106, 81, 158, 105, 80, and then last week 44 with Jerome Ford, who's not 100%. Every other running back covered this number. Since before last week, I mean, literally all season, every number one running back had at least 60 yards or thereabouts against the Cardinals. Robinson has double-digit carries in all but one game this year. We remember the Tampa Bay headache game. But I feel like he's going to have a couple of long runs, Coach, that's going to go over this number. I would play it up to 70 maybe. And maybe I'm overly optimistic, but I just can't help myself.
Jared says, coaches glare at EC, LOL. Jared, there's nothing funny about it. This is the daily for me. The daily. You guys have no idea what it's like for me. No idea. Now, Proppy. Dallas has had a week off. They've licked their wounds. I think they had a week off, unless that game feels 2 weeks ago to me for the Eagles, correct? Am I right? Or am I wrong? Did Dallas lose last week?
They did.
Oh, my God. These weeks are just running together. Well, they're still licking their wounds because they lose 28-23. That's right. 2 yards shy was CD Lamb, who we cashed his yardage over as well. But there is a guy for Dallas who always seems to find the end zone when they need him to. Who am I talking about?
Coach, you're talking about Tony Pollard. And real quick, before I give this prop out, Coach, I've never in my life, I don't think I've ever seen a team lose the prior week and then come out the next week as a, 17.5-point favorite?
Yes.
Has that ever happened? I'd be curious. But, Coach, we're going to go with Tony Pollard anytime touchdown prop. This one's juicy, but I like it I like it quite a bit. It's been a tough season for Tony Pollard. Had a breakout campaign last year. Everyone and their mother was asking for him to take over that backfield. Ezekiel Elliott was, kind of the 1B to Pollard's 1A. Everyone wanted to see more touches. What happens? Ezekiel gets cut in the offseason. They give the job to Pollard, and suddenly he's been one of the most least efficient running backs in the NFL. So it's been a tough season for Tony Pollard. I'm still bullish on him. I still think he can turn it around over the second half of the season. He's playing in a very good offense behind a very good team that runs the football and plays with a lot of leads. That's exactly what I anticipate happening against these Giants, where they're just gargantuan favorites. This should be the ideal game script to really get the run game going. Coincidentally, the only 2 touchdowns that Pollard has this season came in week 1 against this Giants defense. Oh, by the way, that lost Leonard Williams, traded him, probably one of their best 2 or 3 run defenders, to the Seattle Seahawks just a week ago. This Giants defense is not good. They're terrible versus the run. They're terrible versus the pass. We're going to see a lot of Tony Pollard. I think there's a very good chance he gets in the end zone, not once, but at least twice. But I'm going to take this. Obviously, anytime touchdown for 1, I think, is a very good bet this week.
For those of you brand new to our little prop show here or the Early Edge brand, let me tip you off a little something. When Proppy grows a full beard, he's locked in. He is absolutely locked in. Now, speaking of locked in, Dave, have you ever seen a quarterback do what Josh Dobbs has done the last couple of weeks? I mean, we got to tip our cap to this guy who literally leaves one team, goes to another, doesn't throw one pass, not one, during the week, and then comes out, leads them to a win, and then he's kind of settled in now. So as we look at who I'm talking about, Josh Dobbs, where do you like him this week?
Oh, his film was outstanding, and I'd love to do something with his passing props, but there's one of his rushing props that just cannot be beaten.
Yes.
And this is it. Over 5.5 rush attempts at even money. Let's start with this. Dobbs was over this total last week when he played just 3 quarters with this new team that he didn't know. He had no idea what was going on. Probably didn't know the playbook. And sure, maybe that was a byproduct of him being new, getting all those rushes. But he was over this number in 5 of his final 6 games when he was with EC's Cardinals. Rushing is part of his game. It figures to stay that way because the Vikings can't run the ball effectively with Alexander Madison. So I expect more wrinkles in the Vikings offense moving forward. And he's already ranked inside the top 12 among quarterbacks this year in scrambles. These are plays where he's supposed to throw, something breaks down, there's pressure on him, he takes off script. The Saints rank dead last in yards per carry to quarterbacks overall at 5.7 yards. But that number, Coach, it explodes to 9.2 yards per carry when it's an off-script scramble. So you might say, Dave, you're taking the attempts, you're not taking the yardage. Well, that's what the double sprinkles are for, baby. Over 27.5 rushing yards. He's been over that number in 6 of 9 games. It's even money on the attempts. You can take your pick. If you want to pay a little extra vig, take the yards. If you want to try and get some extra money on the bet, though, take the attempts over 5.5.
They in the chat, they're kind of feeling what you're spitting out here, Dave. They're asking potentially Proppy on a double sprinkle on 2 touchdowns for Pollard, perhaps.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit. I think this is a game where he just has massive ceiling, massive potential upside. So I think it's a great bet.
God, I'd love the double sprinkle whenever Uncle Dave gives them out. Oh, I love the double sprinkle. Now,
That's not the only one.
We have 2 double sprinkles this week?
Oh, we're at the ice cream parlor this week. There's sprinkles all over the place.
Let's go. But the big question is this. Where are we going to place these bets? Well, I can tell you, BetMGM. Many of you are still not there, but many of you are. Now, new BetMGM customers can sign up today and get $200 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10, and you will receive $200 instantly in bonus bets, regardless of your wager's outcome, with bonus code EDGE200. That is EDGE200. And can I give you a big time thank you right here, right now? Because so many of you have followed us, trusted us, and we appreciate that. And we have more coming for you and for existing users as well. We're working on it. Now, you guys know all 4 of us. Depends the day, depends the time, but you can find us everywhere. We are dominating this space at CBS, but especially right here.
We need the sports news anywhere.
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
All the time. And we are here for you all the time. Now, Proppy, I need you to cover your ears for these next picks because I don't like to tick you off. I don't like an unhappy Proppy. But EC apparently does not care. All right, EC, let's go with your running back receiving prop first.
All right, Coach, let's start with Jonathan Taylor, over 19.5 receiving yards at -120. So it seems like Gardner Minshew is turning into Derek Carr. Check down Charlie, because Taylor has a 19.2% target share for Minshew in his last 4 games. He's over this number in 3 of his last 4 with 17 targets. Last week, he played nearly 3/4 of the snaps, and it's growing. New England, they're actually pretty good against the run, Coach, but they've given up the 5th most receptions and the 6th most receiving yards to running backs. I feel like Taylor can get at least 25 yards, if not more, in Germany on Sunday. And finally, I love this one, Coach. I love this receiver prop. DK Metcalf, over 63.5 receiving yards at -115. So 11 receivers have done this against Washington, including 7 that have 99 or more yards. Thank you, Devontae Smith, for screwing up that stat. He only had 99. But I wanted to play 100 yards, but we got it close enough. Anyways, Metcalf has gone over this number in 4 of 7 this year. He has 1 catch of 28 or more yards in 5 of 7 games. And he's coming off a 1-grab performance at Baltimore last week, albeit it was 1 catch for 50 yards. Washington has also allowed the most yards on deep passes, while Metcalf ranks top 10 in average depth of target. What this all means, DK should get a few deep shots. If he collects one of them, I feel pretty good that he's going to exceed 1 catch. And I would play this up to 75 yards. And maybe if you want to ladder it, I wouldn't hate that either, up to 100.
Yeah, I think Washington is they're kind of like a dance partner that depending on how fast you want to dance, they're willing to do that. So if Seattle wants to score, Washington's more than happy. I think there'll be extra possessions, all that kind of stuff. Uncle Dave, go.
I just wanted to say that last week we had a 75% success rate on this show on receiving props for running backs. So maybe it's not so bad, Proppy, to try and dip into. I believe you had one of them last week, Mr. Properoo.
Look at his face. Not this guy, he says. Not me, he says. A couple real quick. Dave from the chat. We need some fantasy help. Deontay Johnson or Montgomery at flex.
If it's PPR, Deontay Johnson's the play. If it's non-PPR, I like Montgomery.
Proppy, Will Levis over 210.5. And our good friend Paulina says Tampa Bay has allowed every quarterback but 1 to get to that number this year. Great stat. What are your thoughts, Proppy?
Tampa Bay is a significant pass funnel. I like Levis to potentially air the ball out quite a bit. I think it's a good look.
All right. Very, very good. All right. Now, Proppy, I'm coming right back to you because not only does EC like DK Metcalf, but you like him just in a different way. Let's start there.
Yeah, I like EC's prop quite a bit, but I like DK to go over 23.5 yards for his longest reception. EC, I thought, hit the nail on the head, breaking down the analysis for why DK is in a really great spot. This one checks all the boxes for me of a potential spike game or a ceiling week. Playing this Washington pass defense, which is absolutely dismal. Not only are they dismal, they're particularly susceptible to speed, and they're particularly susceptible to boundary receivers making plays down the field. They've given up more 15-plus yard receptions than any defense in the NFL. Now we look at DK. He has a massive air yard share in the Seattle offense. He is running all of his routes primarily downfield. He possesses the speed, breakaway ability. He ranks top 10 in pretty much every single receiving metric for downfield metric, certainly. So I love this spot for him to get loose behind the secondary, make a couple big plays to go north of 23.5 yards, which I believe he's done in 7 of 9 games already. And this matchup is as good as a matchup as you can ask for when playing this type of prop specifically.
And then as we go from DK Metcalf for longest reception, how about DeAndre Hopkins? Do you think he's going to have a big week?
I do indeed, Coach. Yeah, we're going to go over 60.5 receiving yards. I believe it was the person that just asked in the chat about Will Levis. DeAndre Hopkins is playing a Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense that not only is very generous to opposing wide receivers, posing number 1 wide receivers, but they are a pass funnel. What that means is teams are electing to go pass heavy against them. I often talk about the path of least resistance. Every matchup has its own unique traits, and when we're breaking down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense and how teams are attacking them, they're choosing to attack them down the field. Even teams that don't necessarily pass the ball a lot, balanced teams. So I believe we're going to see that with Will Levis, with this Tennessee team, especially if they can be pushed a bit by Tampa Bay. They're going to be attacked down the field. And DeAndre Hopkins is playing phenomenal football. He was earlier in the season with Ryan Tannehill, had pretty good production, but we've seen the last 2 weeks with Will Levis, double-digit targets in each game, had the 3-touchdown game, getting a ton of targets down the field in the splash zone. That's over the middle of the field, down the field. It's tough to catch passes on the boundaries. It's a lot easier to catch passes deep down the middle of the field. DeAndre Hopkins has as many targets down there as any wide receiver in the NFL. So this one, again, checks all the boxes for me. I could see DeAndre Hopkins going nuclear in this matchup and having triple digits.
All of that information about down the field. Uncle Dave, can you help me with that?
I sure can, Coach, because I also love DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
I want to take his longest reception over 22.5 yards at -114. Not only did DeAndre Hopkins have a catch go over 25 yards last week and the week before, he's had a 25-plus yard catch in 5 of his past 6 games. It should be much easier for Will Levis to get him the ball this week compared to last week. You heard Proppy talk about this Bucs pass defense. They've allowed 19 receptions of 25-plus yards this season, and they're not all deep balls where we're counting on Hopkins to outrun a guy. No, 8 of those 19, not quite half, short throws where the receiver adds at least 15 yards after the catch. That's right. I got that kind of neato data that I can use to apply to my picks. Damn it, I love it. And here's the other thing. This is where the matchup gets even better, because Prop talked about the Bucs defense and how bad they are, this and that. They might be worse because they're starting 2 cornerbacks, Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean. I almost put my pointer finger down first. That would have been really bad. Those guys might not play. So they might be on backup corners against DeAndre Hopkins with a guy who's got a hose for an arm. I can't help myself but make this my favorite prop of the week. And I'm going to put some sprinkles on the alternate over of 74.5 yards for DeAndre Hopkins at +145. That's using your head. If you think he can go nuclear and get over 100 yards, put the odds in your favor. Back it up. He's going to get over 75 yards against the Bucs.
Wow. I also appreciate the fact that you use words that even buckets can understand, like neato. Like he can understand that. He can understand that. We can actually do something with that. By the way, a few of you are asking about my TikTok lock of the week. I've been very, very busy. I didn't even get to it, but take the Ravens -6 and thank me later. All right, now, I love that analysis from Dave. But Proppy, let me come back to you, because there's one thing that we know. And the one thing, if people come here to be educated and entertained, the one thing we will not do is not go back to the well time after time after time if it continues to cash. And there's a tight end in Baltimore that is good as a lottery ticket for us. Who am I talking about?
That's a great segue, Coach. You're talking about Mark Andrews, and I want to also mention I love that play you had on them -6 as your lock of the week. I think the Ravens roll here as well, but we're going Mark Andrews over 45.5 receiving yards. I've been backing this guy all year. Honestly, I've been backing him for the past 3 years if you've been watching this show. But I love me some Mark Andrews. It's puzzling to me why he continues to be put at under 50 yards or around 50 yards in this offense. So, yeah, he's having a phenomenal season. If not for Travis Kelce, I think everyone would look at Mark Andrews as the best tight end in the league. Here is something very fascinating. There's an ESPN stat called Open Score. It basically identifies what players or receivers or tight ends are getting open more than any other players at the position. Mark Andrews has led this statistic in 2021 and 2022. This year, he had been number 2 behind, obviously, Travis Kelce, who's a phenomenal player in his own right. Mark Andrews, after last week, has reclaimed the throne of ESPN Open Score and is number 1 once again. So he is the engine of this Baltimore pass offense. He's getting open more than any player at his position, obviously. Difficult matchup, no doubt about that. Browns, first in EPA allowed per dropback, are very good, but when we're talking about Mark Andrews, he can get off against any defense, even one as good as Cleveland, especially if we're looking at him south of 50 yards at only 45.5 receiving yards. I love this spot for him. I do think that Baltimore is going to air the ball out. We've seen an uptick in passing volume from Lamar Jackson. Mark Andrews being the beneficiary. Give me over 45.5 receiving yards.
Where else are you going to get that? Do you want to do the work? I didn't think so. Now, I will tell you this, that there is a show in our little CBS Paramount Plus family. When you talk about airing it out, there's some guys that used to air it out in a major, major way. And if you want to learn, you should go there too. It's a little show we like to call Monday Morning Quarterback.
On the next NFL Monday QB, historic rivals battle in Baltimore as the Ravens strive to stay in the hunt for the top of the AFC. Go under center on the only NFL show all about quarterbacks. Monday on CBS Sports Network.
Or you can call it Monday QB. It all depends on who you work for. So we got 2 left. EC, I'm coming to you. Because this one I'm a little surprised at. I'm going to be honest with you. But I can't wait coming off a bye week and getting healthier, but traveling all the way across country to play a very, very good team. But yet you're on an over, sir. Explain yourself.
I am, Coach. Brock Purdy's over 245.5 passing yards at -115. So when you look at this one on paper, I was kind of like, do I really want to go there? But the numbers back it up, and I'll explain why. Jacksonville allows 79 yards rushing a game, which is 3rd best in the league. But they're giving up nearly 264 passing yards per game, which is the 3rd worst. Brock Purdy is over this number in 5 of his last 6 games. He's also boosted by the return of Deebo Samuel and potentially Trent Williams as his left tackle. If you're looking for an SGP combo, this Purdy over along with Deebo Samuel, who is San Francisco's zone buster, you get those short completions and then the run after the catch. Jacksonville does play zone 2/3 of the time, which should open up the middle. And the edges for Deebo Samuel, his over-under is only 46.5 yards. So there might be some value there if you combine them together. Now, I looked at Dave's fantasy rankings as I do every week. I learned my lesson weeks ago. And Dave has Brock Purdy as a QB1 during this bye-mageddon. No Mahomes, Hurts, Tua as well. So there's not as many good quarterback options. But I think Brock Purdy has a chance to get at least 270 passing yards. So I would play this up to that number, Coach, as crazy as it sounds.
It does sound a little crazy to me. Dave's over there like wondering, he just brought me into yet another one of his descriptions. Your thoughts, Dave?
Well, I think the reason why you really buy into it is because his receiving core is healthy, and I'm hoping his offensive line is healthy. And if those 2 factors are in Purdy's favor, then I don't know about 270, but 250 yards, he can do that.
All right. Easy, EC. Easy.
I like to go above and beyond, Coach. You know that. I probably get a little exuberant. Just hit the number, please. That's all I ask.
Hey, we always love your enthusiasm. We always love your enthusiasm. I got to miss the show in a couple weeks. I still haven't figured out if I'm going to let EC do it again. We'll see. We'll see. Now, Dave, I love when I see a play. And when my TikTok lock of the week comes in and it's 37-13, and the Browns have played from behind all day, this is going to cash so easily. Please bring us home with what I absolutely love.
I've got a correlated play with Coach. This
Damn
is
right.
exciting. It's Deshaun Watson over 28.5 pass attempts at -111. And to me, this bet is simply, can Deshaun Watson stay healthy for a whole game? Because he's been over this total every game he's finished this year. I'd be shocked if the Browns were able to control this game against the Ravens with their run offense, which, by the way, has been pretty inefficient since Nick Chubb went down. And the Ravens have seen 30 or more pass attempts in all but 2 games this season. One of them was last week. Seattle really didn't have the ball that much. I think the time of possession battle could be much closer this week between these familiar foes, the Ravens and the Browns. So this is really where it comes into play. If I don't think the Ravens can run the ball, or I'm sorry, if the Browns can run the ball, and if the Browns don't have their starting left tackle, well, the best way to go about this, if you're Cleveland, is to let Deshaun Watson throw. And it doesn't have to be deep down the field. It can be short passes that takes over the run game. It's an extension of the run game to throw those short passes. And you negate the Ravens pass rush because you're getting rid of the ball so quick. And it's only 28.5. He can get you 29, and this one comes in. So hopefully Deshaun Watson plays 4 quarters and he goes over 28.5 pass attempts.
And I just don't want any of those 10-minute Ravens drives. It's like when you're on a prop on the other side and you're like, just give them the ball back, please, please. But I love this play. EC, what'd you make of what Dave just said with his take on Deshaun Watson?
Well, I actually like the Ravens coach a lot this week, and I do think the Browns will have to play catch-up. I think that number is low, but my take on Watson, though, there is some injury concern there. Will he make it the full game? If he does, I think it's a lock. But we know Watson.
Translation, he wasn't listening to you, Dave.
Oh, I got it all. I heard everything.
Oh, really? While you were
all.
talking in the chat to 8 different people while he's giving his take?
I have multiple capabilities, Coach. You know that.
We just don't know what those are.
I'm just wondering, like, how much do you not like this prop, EC?
I'll mention that on the last when we go over the recap.
I mean, how much do you not like it?
No, I like it. I think it's good.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm not taking you on there.
Oh, okay. Damn it, Proppy. I thought we had one.
No.
I was hoping for it. I was hoping. We haven't had a showdown on this show for a long time, so I've got my antenna up and I'm looking for a spot to potentially challenge.
Do you think I'm going to take on you or Uncle Dave in a showdown? I've learned not to do that. Now, Coach is a different story. We have our moments.
Grab your paper. Grab your pencil. Snake, can we start that email that sends out, thanking them for their contributions to said show? You start it. I'll finish it. All right. So we do things a little differently on this show. We don't just go through our best bets. That would be too easy. I like to go each one of my guys, and they have to tell me which one of the other crew members' bets they like the most. So, Proppy, let me start with you. What do you like outside of your picks this week?
Yeah, so I like a few, Coach. I like to give one from EC and from my Uncle Dave here. I think it'd be kind of cheating if I gave out the DeAndre Hopkins one since I'm on DeAndre Hopkins, so I obviously love that. But I really like the Devin Singletary fade quite a bit. I thought Dave nailed that analysis as well. So I would hope there'd be a TikTok of the analysis when that play cashes and Singletary ends up with only 23 rushing yards. DK Metcalf, I love. I'm obviously on a prop for him too. So kind of a reversal of DeAndre Hopkins with EC. But in addition to that, I've got to back my guy Bijan. Of course, it's Bijan. I'm hoping if he gets 12 to 14 carries in the game, he's going over that number. Arthur Smith has been a headache as far as the usage is concerned for Bijan. But if he goes over 12 or 14 carries, he'll easily eclipse that number.
You guys are aware that his dad is worth $6 billion. We know that story, right?
Yeah.
Boy, he had to have some kind of motivation when your dad's worth $6 billion to still get to that point. Let's give him credit for that.
Agreed.
If it were me, I'd be like Billy Madison. I'd just be hanging out at the pool
in a tropical island somewhere.
Yeah, you would never even hear from me again.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, Brendan said EC just lost the host chair. Oh, Brendan, that thing sailed like 5 minutes ago. So, EC, who do you like outside of yours?
Well, I love Proppies DeAndre Hopkins over 60.5 receiving yards. I am anchoring him and Will Levis on some DFS teams this week. And I hate to say it, but my favorite play of Uncle Dave's, Deshaun Watson over 28.5 passing attempts. In the 4 games that Watson has started and finished this year, he's had a minimum of 29. Can't argue with the history and the stats. We go with it.
I think if you cut EC open, it'd just be a whole bunch of stats. That's all it'd be, just stats, just numbers. All right, Uncle Dave, bring me some sanity.
I'm a little disappointed because EC said that he can multitask and listen. Literally, the first point I made was that Watson went over this number in every game that he finished.
That was my point too. But at least he has friends in the chat. At least he has them.
He does. Okay. My favorite prop is going to be the Mark Andrews over from Proppy, and I'm going to give a little extra sprinkle in here for everybody. I like this over on his receptions as well. Plus 114. He had 5 catches at Cleveland in week 4. He had 9 catches last week. Clearly the focal point of this passing game. That's my favorite prop. I don't think I need to talk about anybody else's favorite prop at this point. Back to you, Coach.
Well, because they probably wouldn't be listening to you anyway.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I would.
Of course you would. Yes.
Yeah. Real quick, Singletary under 47.5 minus 124. Still good there, Dave.
Great.
Still like it. All right.
Yes.
All right. That's all the damage that we can do. Do not forget, on Sunday, we have 2 big shows for you. Noon Eastern time, breaking down every single one, and 4 o'clock game. Then, of course, prime time, early edge. I can't even remember what Sunday Night Football is, but we'll be here live to break that down as well. So in the meantime, how do you guys feel about a 3-person show next week? Interesting. There's only one thing left to do, and I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these prop tickets straight to the pay window. My Tiger, Lobo, Proppy, EC, my man Uncle Dave. Don't forget about the snake. Always making the show look like $1 million. I am simply the coach, trying to keep this train on said track. It ain't easy. We grind for you so we can win with you. Welcome to everybody that is new. We're here every single Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. We like to call it the early edge. Good luck.